How are we today? Today is Friday, May 29th. I can look down at my day book to see. I think that's right. Yeah, May 29th, almost June. And it is our Unity Forum, as we have become accustomed to doing. We dedicate the Friday before the weekend um, to talk to people that are part of our community and to check in with uh, various stakeholders and staff and family members, and just to see how people are doing during this time of pandemic and COVID. And we have spent the week, many of us worrying and full of anxiety and thinking about things and being out of our routines and not being able to be with friends and family. At least we should be um, doing that. And so we try to keep Friday to a bit of a lighter note. But before we get into the great panelists that I have in line for us today, I did want to just take a moment to pay tribute to a very special man that I've gotten to know over the past year, who recently, just a couple of days ago, passed away from COVID-19. And I mentioned him yesterday, and I wanted to just get approval from Rosemary to talk about him, and that is Sam. I called him Sammy Valente, who just turned 84. I think that's right. Did I do the math right? Just on May 10th, just a couple of weeks ago. And Sam, I didn't know Sam lived at Benchmark Senior Living of Woburn until my mother moved in there. And Rosemarie, who is the mother of Robert Hubbard and is on our board of directors, whose daughter Jacqueline is had spoken at one of our annual celebrations. Uh, um, when she found out that my mother had moved in there, she was excited to tell me that her father lived there as well. And over the past year, I have gotten to know Sam in a as an acquaintance, I guess you'd say. But every time I saw him, that was the smile that he gave me back. I took that picture. I think he was standing in front of the elevator, and he always just was this bright spirit. Every time I saw him, and my mother's a grouch most of the time, and I just remember thinking, oh my God, I wish my mom was as pleasant and as upbeat and as positive. And I used to kind of joke around with him because he was a good looking guy, and I'd be like, dude, you're gonna have all these single ladies like chasing after you, because there was obviously a lot of single women at Benchmark Senior Living, and he kind of got a kick out of that, and had dinner with them, now and then with my mother, and got to know some of his daughters. These girls just doted on their father, Cindy, Joanne, and Patty. That were just always there, and so this is San Valente, one of the 102,000 people, Americans, that have died from COVID-19. We hear these figures, we hear these numbers, and this is the family. You see Robert, you see Jacqueline pictured there, and Sam's late wife, Rose. Um, this is how this terrible pandemic is disrupting lives. Sam was 84. I mean, he this wasn't his time to die. He could have lived many, 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 many more years. And I'm just Rosemary texted me when he finally succumbed, and said that she was just heartsick, and that's just a good way to describe it. Heartsick. And this is a family that has lost an important, pivotal a patriarch of their family, and they're going to have to go on just relying on their memories. That is what this pandemic is doing. So, as you consider whether or not to wear a mask, whether or not to maintain social distancing, you're going to hear me continue to lecture you about this. This beautiful life is now gone, and we need to do whatever we can to protect everyone from catching this illness and from possibly dying from it. And to Rosemary and Bob and Robert and Jacqueline and the entire family, we extend our deepest sympathies to all of you. We know Sammy's going to be missed. I'm going to miss him. So I can't imagine how you feel. And we're just going to keep you in our thoughts and prayers as you deal with this during this difficult time. So there. Interestingly, we are going to spend our time today talking to a number of terrific people that a couple of staff and the husband of a board member who have actually had COVID-19 and lived to tell the tale, lived to tell the story. I remember early on when this whole pandemic began to roll through, and I didn't know anybody that had it. And I thought, gee, if I could just find that one person to like tell me what was it really like. And so I think there still probably are a large number of us that maybe don't know anybody directly or personally that have had it. You know, this is a crazy virus because it it tends to be more dangerous to older people, but certainly younger people can catch it, and there are many instances of younger people that have died from it and that have had severe complications requiring hospitalizations and even ventilators. So, do we have our first guest, Greg, ready and queued up, Kern, or do we?
Yep, Kern's joining us right now.
All right. So, Kern Mondesir, some of us have, many of us know his esteemed wife, who was featured here at an earlier youth forum. Amy, Kern has been with us since October of 2013. That's a long time because that's just a few months after I became the CEO of NuPath. I think it's over like 2,500 days now.
Kern, just need you to turn your webcam on, please.
Okay.
Oh, Kern's hearing me say all these nice things and I can't even see him yet. So he's a No Walls team leader, or he was before COVID, and he's volunteered to work the 3 to 11 in the. Well, look at you.
How are you?
You're not in front of New York City with fireworks blasting behind you, but maybe that's how you feel since you beat COVID. Is that right?
Yes, I did. It was a very scary experience, a very scary time.
Tell us, like, you were early on. This was like a while ago, right? Like back when did you first were you diagnosed with it? Was it in April or was it late March?
Yes, in April, the beginning of April.
Beginning of April. So we were still trying to like understand what this all was about, and did you know when you started to feel sick? Did you think it was COVID, or did you just think it was something else, or what did you think was going on?
Well, I feel strange and keep telling my wife, like I feel cold, and she said, "You always cold." So I checked my temperature. It was about 100, and Amy, she said, "You gotta take the test. You gotta take the test." So, and I went and took the test, and it was yes. And then I had the COVID.
What did you think when you heard that you were positive? Were you scared? Did you, I mean, what did you, because we still didn't even know, like we didn't know, certainly didn't know as much as we know now. What did you think?
Well, when you listen to the news around the world, at that time, nobody survived the COVID. In my thought, I said, no, cannot be. It's not my time yet, I cannot die, I got so many things to do.
You just married a beautiful wife. You met at NuPath. How could you die?
That's why. But lots of people die, at the time. So, and I keep. And the funny thing, there is no medication for the COVID. So and with the help, with my with God, my wife and my family, I took some whatever they tell me to take. And because the virus mostly attack your lungs, and I just took stuff that can help my lungs. So yeah,
You
so I
sound like
survived.
you sound like you're still raspy. Is that still a carryover from your recovery of COVID, or is it you have?
No, I had that was last year. I had a surgery in my throat.
Oh,
Yes, so
oh,
they had to open it. So
oh my God! Was this so? This was doubly difficult for you. Was it hard to breathe? Were you ever afraid that you? Did you feel like you were gasping for air? Was that the worst part, or what was the worst part of having?
well, for the COVID, no. I just had fever a couple times, and I took Tylenol to keep it down. And they told me, they called and said, no, not to take Tylenol. Let the fever work. So I can control the fever. So
Yeah. So
yeah,
you never
so
had to be hospitalized. You didn't have to have a ventilator or anything like that. But you had
no,
to quarantine. You were
yes.
and probably brought food on a paper plate and left in a room by yourself.
This is the most embarrassing thing when you have COVID. You feel like a dog.
You feel
Because
like
people, yes, because people try to protect themselves. In the meantime, if they bring you something, like my family bring me stuff, but they leave it on the floor, out of the door,
outside your yeah.
out of the door, you have and then they leave. Halfway to the house, they call you, I left something for you, so you have to go and pick it up. So
Yeah.
life is my life is so different now, so
Mhm.
different now, because it doesn't matter. Right now, it's like you just appreciate life, what you have, and live it every day,
Yeah.
because it could happen anytime.
It could happen anytime. And well, I don't know exactly how old you are, but I would assume you're a young buck. You wouldn't expect to be like hit hard by this. But yet it did put you on your back. And yet I hear correctly that you remodeled your bathroom or you did some, is that true? Did you
Well, yes, you gotta get busy. I'm the kind of guy. I have to do something.
yeah,
And staying home was killing me.
yeah, yeah. But
Yeah.
you're
So
but you're back to work now.
yes,
And
uh,
you are no worse for wear. I mean, do you feel there's any lingering effects, or do you feel pretty much back to normal?
I pretty much back to normal. Yes, I feel fantastic.
Yeah.
Yes, I feel fantastic.
And so
I
you want to
give
get
it.
back and get busy and get back to things as you. What would you
Yes.
what would you say to somebody that says that they don't think COVID's a big deal or it's just a lot of hype? Would you have any advice for people out there, about maintaining social distancing or using the mask or what would you say about all that?
Well, until now, there are a lot of people that don't take it seriously. But I would tell them, follow the direction, do what they tell you to do, because it's a very dangerous virus. So yes, I don't know. If you like yourself, no, take care of yourself, and if you like people around you, take care of them too.
Wow. And
And,
you probably don't know where you got it from. You don't have any way of knowing, do you? Or do you know who to contact?
well, no, I don't know, because I've been working with places, so I don't know. People really, people really don't know where to get it. It's
Yeah,
like it's in the air, so
right,
that's why you
right.
have to wear mask, because you don't know who you're gonna talk to, where you're gonna get it. So
Mhm.
protect yourself.
Well, Kern, I appreciate you so much. You and Amy have become sort of like this NuPath power couple or something. It seems like every time we turn around, we're like we're asking to talk to you. What are the two of you? And we appreciate and value all of the great things that you're doing for our clients and not just before but now and we're glad that you survived this terrible pandemic because not
Yes.
everybody does. you know, young people get this sometimes and don't make it. And so I was so relieved to hear that you had recovered, and I'm glad you're back with us. And thank you
Yes,
so
yes,
much for talking to us today and giving us a little bit of insight into what it was like
yeah.
for you.
Yes, I can tell people don't be their heart. Just listen to the news, what's going on, what's happening. So pay attention and do what they ask you to do. You know, it's very important. It's very, and then that thing, it attack you mentally also because you know after getting it, you know you are so close. You know, it can happen anytime. So
Yeah.
just protect yourself.
Ladies and gentlemen, you heard it here from an expert. You don't want to listen to me. Listen to this man who had it. You don't want to get what he had, and he's telling you to pay attention to the guidance and to follow the social distancing and everything that they
Yeah.
tell us to do. Well, Kurt, you please take care of yourself. I'm glad you're all right. I'm glad you're with NuPath and you're back and everything's fine. I think that you've had a great story to tell, and we appreciate you taking the time to share it with us today.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
All right.
All right.
Well, I don't want COVID. I don't know about you, but let's talk to our second guest. Kern was terrific. We talked to his wife Amy a couple of weeks ago to talk about some of the things she's doing. And there's Jeremy Pitaro. How are you, Jeremy?
Good, sir. Thank you.
You're better now than you have been.
Yes, absolutely. Much better.
And you've been with us now since April 2012. Is that correct?
Yes.
And you've done a number of things for us since you started. You're kind of a you know, an essential clinician, a man about town when it comes to helping get people to appointments and doing training, all kinds of things. Now, you've been a critical contributor to our walk events. Over the past 5 years, I see here that you've raised over $6,000. Incredible. You've been part of the Club 50 3 times in 5 years. And you also got sick with COVID in the end of March. My dates here say March 27th. That was very early on. I think we had just really closed it. Tell us the story. What happened? How did it manifest right away? And what was it like for you?
Thank you, Dan. So at first I realized that I had a lack of taste and smell, which was one of the symptoms that I talked about a little bit later on. And then I just wanted to get it tested because, you know, I had the symptoms, and then they found out on the 30th, that following Monday, that I had it.
You know, March 27th, was it hard to get a test? Like, I don't even know that it was all that easy to get tests back then, was it? Did you have to go drive a distance or what?
I did, yeah. Well, I had to go to my PCP. I actually not my PCP, to the hospital down the street, but I had to call the PCP first, and they said, yeah, you have to go to the hospital, and you know, it was they wanted to make sure I had the symptoms, and it was a little bit of a struggle. But yeah, you're right, because they had a limited amount of tests. So yeah.
How long did it take you to get the results back in March 27th?
About 3 days. So on the 30th, on that Monday, I was at work, and they gave me a call, and then I left immediately afterwards.
Now, everybody out there, maybe many people don't know you, but I know a little bit about your life, and let's just say that it is a full and some might say a complex life because you've got a young family and you have you know, you serve as a pastor at a church. And talk to us about what it was like for you to get sick and to be you know, having a family depending upon you and parish or congregation. Like, what was it like for you? Were you on your flat on your back? Were you able to like even know what was going on, or because you had it hard, did you?
So very much like Kern said, it was scary at first. I have 3 young kids underneath the age of 7. One of them has a big asthma, issue, and then my brother-in-law lives with me, and then his girlfriend had to stay here because he lives with 3 people who have pre-existing conditions, and so we had to move rooms around, and it was nerve-wracking. We were questioning if we should quarantine me, but then why does it matter? Because onset of symptoms is 2 to 14 days before, so they would have had it already possibly. And then with the congregation, it was I had to close the doors, and that was very hard for everybody because they really depend on the church and they really do love getting together. And some of them are by themselves completely; they don't have anyone, and so it was very difficult. But we tried to just do a text thread to start off for people who had a smartphone. Some people didn't, and that was a struggle. So we had to call, and they really united through it. But it was a trial for everybody, and for my family as well. And so.
And you were all in your house. I don't know how big your house is, but that's a lot of people under one roof if you're not feeling well and you're sick.
Right, we were at Cape Cod, and so it's a very small Cape Cod. So it's so yeah, 7 people in the house. We had to move all the kids into one room, and so we accommodate everybody else, and to give my brother-in-law Mike, his girlfriend, her privacy, and to make it very nice for her. She had like the biggest room, but because we were such close quarters, everyone ended up getting it.
Everyone got it.
Yeah, everyone except for his girlfriend, who was more separated from everybody. She because of where she was in the house, she stayed away. She was very careful.
So your kids all got it?
Yeah, all 3 of my kids had it, and that was really scary. It all kind of hit around the 3rd or 4th week that I had it. I started to get like a really severe pressure in my chest, and I couldn't sleep on my pillow. I had to sleep like pretty much like this as much as I could. And then my son got it, and that was very scary for me. And we try to look to specialists and to all different sorts of people to help us out and guide us. And like you said, we were like in the dark to some degree, because things were being discovered as we went, and it was so new. It's like they said, it's a novel virus, so it was difficult. And then there was a part there when I started getting shocks in my chest, like a feeling of electrical shocks. That was towards like the 4th week or so, and that was scary. Around that time, 3 of our friends passed away from it, and they were in their 40s, which I'm in my 40s. I'm 40 actually. One guy, he passed away, and he has I don't know him, like I know him indirectly, but it was one of my good friends, his cousin. He had left behind 5 kids and his wife, and he was the main breadwinner. So it was very tough. So we tried to do a church and myself tried to do all we could to help them out, which was minimal compared to what they need. And so it was it's just been up and down.
Oh my God.
I couldn't walk at sometimes. I was trying to get a piece of paper in the lawn because I realized if I moved around a little bit, I felt better. I felt like I was getting sicker if I just stayed there. So I moved around as much as I could. I went to go pick up a piece of paper that my kids left on the ground, and I went to go pick it up, and I got up, and I literally felt like a ton of bricks fell on me, and I just had to sit down in the lawn chair. I couldn't even come in the house, and I was like fatigued, like seriously fatigued for like 3 hours. And I was like, what the hell's going on? It was terrible.
Anything else that compared to what you went through with this? Like, have you ever had seasonal flu or anything else?
Yeah, I've had the flu. Yep. Yeah, absolutely, Dan. I've had the flu before without a vaccine, and I've gotten through that. As you know, like you said, I'm very busy. I'm pretty, not like, I'm a bodybuilder, but I'm pretty resilient kind of guy, pretty strong. And yeah, this is very different. It's almost, I kind of said it to my friends, I'm like, it's almost like a super virus. It's not like a regular super flu, rather. And it has a weird effect. Kurt was kind of touching on that a little bit as well. It's just a strange feeling. You get exhausted, but you also feel kind of like just weird and then dizzy at times. And then, same symptoms as a flu, but it was not the effects because of how it affected the respiratory system, affecting the other systems of your body. It makes it a little bit weird. Yeah, it's not like a regular flu, and I would not wish it on anyone. It could be very dangerous, extremely
When
dangerous.
you hear people, frustrated people, and rightly so, that have been social distancing for all this time, homeschooling, working from home, not going out for dinner, that are starting to, start to get a little restless, and maybe you hear them, the comments about people saying, oh, this is no worse than the regular flu, that many people die in traffic accident, you hear all kinds of. It's almost like we're trying to give ourselves like this excuse to not care, like to think it's not that bad. What do you think, as somebody who's lived through what you lived through?
So I've had unfortunately, very very much so unfortunately, one of the guys, the guy I was telling you about, whose cousin died, that was kind of his approach a little bit at first, and then after his cousin died, he completely switched tunes. He was, he couldn't believe it. And then I had a friend in the South who I talk to sometimes. He just moved a few weeks ago, and they're not experiencing it in some places the same way we are up here. And so I tried to explain to him, like, listen, brother. I mean, this is no joke. I've had the flu before, like you asked, and I said, this is serious, And he's coming from the perspective that there are people who their families are having a very, very difficult time because they can't work, and we had a conversation about what maybe people in leadership can do their best they can, but ultimately safety is first, and that's all there is to it, and and that's why we're making, the leaders are making the decisions they are, so it's tough, very tough, and you have to. I think this one thing, Dan, is what if I can say. I think the one thing that this virus does to all of us is it helps us to think of the person on your right and your left, and maybe that's the optimistic side of this, is that we have to think more and do more for the people on our right and our left, and really think of them. That's what I've been telling everybody is, everywhere.
And when you think about the people to the right and your left, you're talking about, protecting them and
Yes.
keeping them safe, not, sneezing on them or touching them or.
Yeah.
I'm so glad to see that you are, it looks like well on the road to recovery. It sounds like you went through a terrible, terrible time, but lived to tell the tale. I'm glad your family, are your kids all recovered now? Your wife, everybody's like pretty much okay now?
Yes, thank God they all recovered. Yeah, absolutely.
Wow. Well, it sounds like it was a scary time for you, but we said you're resilient, and that's a good thing. We need you, and I'm sure there's a lot of families and staff and people of NuPath that will be very happy to see you looking healthy and well. And thank you for sharing your story with us and for those words of caution and advice. Right, left. We got to care for each other, don't we? And keep one another safe. Well, take care
Thank
of
you, Dan.
yourself, Jeremy. Thank you so much for being a part of this and for sharing your story today with NuPath.
Thank you, Dan, for everything you do. Thank you, Dan.
All right, we'll talk to you again soon. Bye-bye. Wow. So we've seen, and it just occurred to me that we're talking to all men, 3 men. We were going to talk to a woman, but she's not well enough to talk to us right now. But I also have heard that men are more likely to get, and I don't know, I should be saying I don't know if I have facts to back it up, but a lot of times it's one suggestion was that men don't have as healthy a lifestyle as women often do, and that's a wild generalization, I realize, but anyway, we thank Jeremy for joining us today and for sharing his experience. So our third and final guest today is John Stanton, who is the husband of Sandy Stanton. Sandy Stanton is the former chair of the NuPath Board of Directors. She was my boss. There he is.
Hey,
How are you? There's that
I'm
smile.
well.
I just, before I get to you, and I've got plenty to say to you about you because you're awesome, but I just want to give your wonderful wife a shout out. She was the chair of the board when I first became CEO, and I just tell you, I loved that no nonsense Southern, business sense. She just told it like it was. She was so sensible. She didn't hold back from letting you know how she felt about things. And I just love her to pieces. You know I do. So I've got to know you over the years. Now I probably known you. Gosh, I don't know when I first met you, maybe 2011 or 12, or maybe even earlier than that. I guess at Taste of Springs, and you were always there.
Right, right.
Been a huge fixture in the city of Woburn. You have been the treasurer for the Haggerty campaign. You're treasurer of the Lions Club. You've been probably on every board there is to be on. Truly a citizen that understands the value of service. I was shocked when Sandy told me that you had tested positive and that you had COVID. And you were the first person I actually knew personally, that had gotten it. And this is early. Tell us what happened.
Yeah, it was early. I've been following the statistics, and I was probably one of the first, I think probably 1,000 or 1,500 that got it. I was diagnosed in mid-March, actually. So, and as with the others, I don't really know where I got it from. I just started showing the symptoms, and the journey started.
Oh my God! So you have some a little bit of a difficulty getting a test, didn't you? Or
Well, I
were
did. Yeah, I did. As you, Sandy's going through some health issues right now. I don't know if everybody knows, but so she was, when I came down with the COVID, she's actually was diagnosed with breast cancer. So kind of a double whammy this spring.
Terrible time you guys have had.
Well, with friends and people like you, we've gotten through this. Believe me, it's not that bad. But she was ready to start chemo the following week that I came down with this, and I had the symptoms just like the other two guys did. Shortness of breath, fever, coughing, and I got a hold of my primary care and I said, Doc, I said, my wife is starting chemo next week, and she's going to be very compromised. I can't let her go through chemo if I've got the COVID. And he's like, oh, by all means, let's see if we can get you tested. Do you know that I couldn't get tested? I couldn't get tested in my regular network. Our network is Winchester Hospital, Leahy, Beth Israel. And at that time, because it was so early in the process, they were only testing first responders and healthcare workers. So luckily, my doctor kept digging, and he says, Lawrence General is under different funding arrangements and whatnot. So they're testing the public. So why don't you drive up to Lawrence General and tell them that your doctor sent you here? And I went up, and just like you see on TV, you got the tent up there, and you got the people in the hazmat suits, and they called me in. They could not have been nicer. And they as soon as I told them my symptoms, they said, we don't even need to test you because you got it so bad. So I did test positive, went home, and I was able to convalesce at home, thank God. I didn't need to go to the hospital, but it's definitely the sickest I've ever been in my life, other than, maybe when you were a kid and you come down with the measles or the mumps or whatnot. I was so sick.
And you're a young, healthy guy in shape. You wouldn't think that you would fit the profile of having any,
Right.
comorbidity. And did you think you had it when you started feeling the symptoms, or were you kind of in this denial? It can't be that, or what or were you worried that maybe this was it? You did have it.
I worried because at that point the public relations was on every day. We were watching it. They told you to look out for the symptoms. The cough and the fever were the first two symptoms that they told you to be aware of. And I came down with the cough, and 2 days later, I came down with a fever, and they told me, to quarantine at that point in time. So, but it was really ironic. It was so early. One of the first warning signs was loss of taste and smell.
Yeah.
And the week before, we at work, we all have lunch together at the conference room table. So there's about 10 or 12 of us. And I was joking that I couldn't taste anything. And we joked about it. And sure enough, it was one of the early signs. So that was that.
Sandy never got it.
Sandy never got it. It was a miracle Sandy never got it. A miracle is the only way to describe it, because we live in an old house, old rooms, small rooms. We had one, we've got a bathroom and a half, but we had to share the main bathroom for showering and whatnot. And Sandy, she was going to take care of me. So she was exposed to me, and she never got it. So I really do believe that was a blessing and a miracle, because she has her own journey to travel right now, but she did not come down with COVID.
It has been one hell of a year for you guys, because I know Sandy got the diagnosis sometime in February before we knew COVID was coming. We were ramping up for the walk, and even though she was going through chemo, she still comes to the paint night for the board with this big basket of wine.
Oh yeah.
Sandy, let somebody else step in for service. I know you're committed to this. I think about that movie Steel Magnolias, the Southern women that are so tough, and that's what I think of when I think of with Sandy. I mean, she's just a force to reckon with, I'll tell you. Really.
Right.
But you've gotten sick. You're always so, I've enjoyed so much getting to know you over time. My husband, John, just the two of you are I'm sure he's watching right now. I said, oh, you got to watch today. John Stan, your buddy John Stan's going to be on. He's like, oh, yeah. And I was just so feared the worst when I heard that you had it, because you were the first one that I knew that had gotten it. And how long did it take you before you felt like you were sort of approaching normal, feeling back?
Easily 3 weeks. I think I'm 58 years old, so I'm a little older than the two other, Kern and Jeremy. I feel fatigue every day. I'm ready. When the workday is over, I am ready for bed, and I was never like that. So I don't know whether it's the after effects of the virus, or whether it's just everything we're all going through with a little bit of depression or whatever. But I can definitely feel the fatigue.
Yeah. Well,
how many more minutes do I have? Another minute? Because I wanted to talk about one other thing. I think that's just as powerful as the health risk is, and many of you know, I'm a CPA, and Sandy's a CPA. The financial hurt that people are going through right now is as powerful as the virus. I mean, this virus is devastating us, not only in our health and our relationships, but also with our finances. So, my heart goes out to each and every one of everyone, all of us that are really struggling, because we're witnessing this aspect of it, just as we are all witnessing the health aspects of it. So I think we're in for a long road. I think we need to look out after each other, care for each other. As Jeremy said, look to the person on the right, look to the person on the left, and help them out. Help them out. Even if it's giving a waitress a 25 or a 30% tip instead of 15 or 20, because that they're struggling.
Yeah.
So
that's great advice. I think it's sobering to just hear your story, Jeremy Kearns. I mean, it's easy to watch the news. You see different parts of the country opening a little bit faster. You talked about the financial impact. Believe me, I mean, NuPath, we've never had the losses that we currently have financially. And now trying to figure out how to reopen it, what is it going to look like, and do it at 5% capacity, and all the rest. You can see why people are anxious to get businesses to the economy back open. But if you're sick, and if your customers are sick, and if you can't go out for dinner, and if you can't go out shopping, and you can't go out to a Red Sox game, what's the point of being open? And so it's good to hear from you. Somebody that's a realist. You're pragmatic. You're down to earth. You're in the financial business. You understand the deficit, but yet you've had this illness, and so you've got quite a tale to share.
I really see both sides of it. It's really, I remember emailing people. It says this virus is no joke, and I still believe it. We need to take this very seriously and do what the leaders are telling us to do, and just use our common sense, really.
Do you wear a mask when you go out in public?
I do, even though the three of us are now considered superhumans because we got it.
I know
And
it. I know.
But I respect other people's fears. I mean, they don't. Now you're basically shunned if you don't wear your mask out in public, and I respect that. So I put my mask on, and you know, because we all have different risk tolerances, and one isn't more right or wrong than the other.
John Stanton, you're amazing, and I am so glad that you recovered and that you're making your way back to sort of a normal baseline. I don't speak for Woburn, but if I did, I would thank from this city your service, your support of NuPath over the years, your all the people that you've helped and encouraged and you would be such a loss if we didn't have you. So I'm glad you're feeling better, and thank you so much for agreeing to take time out of your schedule. By the way, you didn't know you were doing this until about 10 o'clock this morning.
That's right. That's right. We put this together on the fly.
You're incredible, and I really want to thank you for taking the time and give your wonderful wife of yours a big hug and a kiss from me when you see her tonight. And I'm glad we're praying for her, for both of you to continue to help. Next year is going to be better for you guys.
Yes, it will. All of us.
All of us. Hey, man, take good care, okay?
You got it.
All right. Bye-bye. Well, if there's anybody out there that thought they were going to wing it, and they thought maybe it wouldn't be that bad, and maybe it was something that exaggerated, I hope that this has given you the occasion to rethink it. This is serious. We can do this. We can do this together. We can beat this, but we have to observe the guidance that's being provided. And to our families that are missing their children, I need you to be patient a little bit longer. We hope to be getting more guidance regarding continued relaxation of some of the observances that we've been making, and we will notify you just as soon as we feel it is safe to begin to reintroduce you to your children. And to our staff, you guys you are NuPath, and you are making this this possible, helping this organization through a time of unparalleled crisis and finding reasons for innovation and creativity and new designs in spite of it all. But I need you to stay healthy, all right? And for men and women that we support who happen to be watching this, we want you to stay well and come back to us as soon as we can get you back. And we're NuPath. We are NuPath now. This is what we are now, and we are going to be discovering that together, because together we got this. We got this, guys. All right. Be safe out there. Wear your masks. Wash your hands. Keep your distance, and be safe. All right. Talk to you guys soon. Bye-bye.